Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. Joining us straight from AUSA, and we're going to find out a little bit about what happened at AUSA last week. Ahmed, Qureshi. Did I screw it up? I know. I listened to it. Did I get close?
Good. Yeah, it works.
Right, man. Confidence level, I was like, crap. Just throw it out.
You should know this. The number one way to speak a language is just to come in with 100% confidence. You know,
that's right. Mine went out the window as soon as I said it. Hey, man, great to have you. Appreciate. I forgot to say, Navy vet, Army National Guard vet too. So been around the block a couple of times and doing a really cool thing. Man, there is so much that I want to talk to you about because BILT is just the coolest things in sliced bread. And I'm gonna calm down and take a breath and let you do some talking. But this company that you're running right now that you founded is just such a cool thing. So, by the way, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Otis and Cam. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I got to jump right in, man. AUSA can wait. I'm more curious because. You know, I was supposed to be an engineer. The Army thought I should be an engineer, and then I went and did something different. So this thing that you're doing with BILT is just to me. Whenever I go to the website and I check out the videos, is just wow. How cool is that? So give us a little bit about what BILT is, and then we'll jump into some more.
Okay, all right. I'm happy to do that. I love talking about BILT. For everyone out there who's not been exposed to BILT, it's the BILT app. We are mobile 3D interactive instructions, and they're also intelligent in that we're gathering insights for the brands on consumer behavior, but we're providing really a better customer experience, end user experience for brands that typically give you either paper instructions or a video. And we all have had that frustrating experience of a product arriving at your house. You ordered it or you bought it at the store. You're so excited. You come home, you unbox it, and you look at the instructions and they're horrible. They're half English, half something else. And there's 20 extra parts, or there's 5 parts missing, or you've got more screws than you need, and it's confusing. And usually most of us will muddle through it and we'll put it together, but it's a frustrating experience. It's not great, but we'll push through and we'll get it done, and then we'll set it up and we'll kind of move on our way, but it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Often, other times, people will return stuff. And, you know, since starting BILT with my partner, I co-founded BILT with him in 2015, we've been exposed to an industry that I didn't know existed called reverse logistics. It's a global multi-billion-dollar problem. And that's what happens when you go to Target, Walmart, Home Depot, and you return something. And often things are returned because the instructions were poor. So BILT was created inside of an innovation lab in California by my business partner, Nate Henderson, and co-founder. And he and a team of people just said, there's got to be a better way. In this day and age where we have mobile devices and 3D and animation and interactivity, why are we still using paper? And so they built a prototype, they created a minimum viable product, and it was simply better. In 2015, we created BILT Inc. To be able to begin the commercialization process of BILT. Let's go find some brands that want to provide a better user experience for their customers and see if we can turn them into promoters of their brands rather than neutrals or detractors because of a poor experience when it comes to assembly, setup, maintenance, or repair.
That's awesome, man. And I love the fact, because I didn't realize that it was actually the brands that I guess would be your clients. Is that the right way of putting it?
So if you think about it, we're a B2B2C business.
Mm-hmm.
We partner with the brands, the manufacturers, and then we build something for them. So we make something for our customer's customer.
You really piqued my economic curiosity when you were talking about the amount of returns that we're making, or sorry, the amount of returns that were based on the poor instructions. Do you have any sort of metric on that? I'm just really curious.
I did at one point, but it's huge. If you
Give me a ballpark.
It's billions. It's multi-billion-dollar
Oh
profits.
my gosh.
And it's a global issue. And also there's a reverse logistics association. That's how big of a problem it is. And several years ago, we were asked to speak at the show. And it was great. We had a great experience, but it opened our eyes up, me and my partner and the other member of the team. And we just couldn't believe that there's a whole industry dedicated to feeding off the problem of returns and bad instructions. And so I'll even tell you, at the show, I had at least one individual, I think there was two, it's been a few years, they came up to me and they jokingly said, "BILT's the enemy." And I said, they kind of smiled at me and I said, and you're the enemy because you're fixing the problem we feed off of. Mm-hmm. And so that was fascinating. It validated that we were on the right track, right? And at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. We have millions of users all around the world that have experienced BILT. And BILT essentially is when you download the BILT app, you can go to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, and you can download it for free. The brands pay for it all, so it's free to the customer and end user. And when you download it, you'll type in a brand's name, you'll see logos, and we essentially create a for the brands. So BILT in essence is multi-channel brand support. And when someone goes in there, they can find the product that they purchased. They're able to see the instructions that are cloud hosted. They're always up to date. We can push updates to them as well, and people can choose to accept the updates or not. You can upload your receipt. Your warranty is held there. You can leave feedback, good or bad. That will get to the brand very, very quickly. And we encourage all of our brand partners to embrace that feedback. If it's good, great. Read it, know what you're doing right, and keep doing it. If it's bad and they hammer you, don't shy away from that. That's a gold mine. They're telling you what's wrong and what you need to do to fix your product. And then you can also register your product. So BILT in essence becomes that filing cabinet that we all have, or that drawer, or that shoebox we all have in our apartment, our home, our condo, wherever we live, right? Everyone knows where that is. They're thinking about it right now, where it's in the house.
That's exactly what I was thinking, is like, I've been thinking about scanning those things for a long time. Now with BILT, I don't have to, right? I mean,
no. I mean, BILT essentially will house that for you. You need to upload your receipt if you want your receipt there. And obviously we don't have every product in the world on BILT yet. That's coming. We're working on that. But the way you find out about it is if you go to Home Depot, if you go to Walmart, you go to any of the large retailers today, or you go to their online sites and purchase something, they'll tell you if it has BILT instructions on them. There'll be a logo on the box, on the paper instructions, and often you'll go to a brand, for example, Weber. Weber's a premium top brand for if you love to grill. These Weber grills utilize BILT 3D interactive instructions. And they'll say on the box or on their instructions, for a faster, better setup experience, download your instructions in the BILT app. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have to hunt for it. When you purchase your product, they'll tell you if they've invested in this premium customer centric experience by telling you to download the app and download the instructions, and then it's there. If there's a problem, and instead of mailing you a new set of paper instructions 6 months later, we'll just push you into your account in BILT your updated instructions.
That's awesome. So I'm curious how you went from this MVP good idea in California to getting in front of a major, several major corporations and convincing them that, hey, this is good for you. How'd y'all get over that hurdle?
Well, like any new thing, it takes time. And you can invent something that's just incredible, but the marketplace needs to be ready for it.
Mhm.
So it takes hard work, effort, stick-to-itiveness. People often are just used to the easy path that's already in front of them. Why would I replace paper instructions? Oh, it costs so much more what you're offering. That must be a fortune, right? So sometimes you have to sell. You have to explain to them the benefits and why it's actually going to help them. And when you have any new technology, you when you're trying to sell that new technology, you have your innovators and early adopters that will often jump on board. And so you got to find those people first as an entrepreneur who likes to buy stuff and get ahead of the curve. And then you have early majority, late majority, and then you have late laggards. The last people to add new technology, right? They're just going to be dragged
The
into
dinosaurs, right?
yeah. And look, when you're dealing with large organizations, it's tough sometimes because when, introducing something new and innovative, that's, even though it's good for the customer, it might make the money, and it's still effort. And you have to find a champion inside of that organization that you're trying to sell into that believes what you're doing. And not only that is going to help them and their brand. The interesting thing about BILT is BILT improves top line and bottom line for each SKU. We have data to prove it. And we have brands that have told us that we can show that, hey, by providing our customers with a better experience, 3D interactive digital intelligent instructions actually lowers our returns, which improves our bottom line, because a call center and all of that is really just eating into your bottom line. And so if you can improve by percentage points your bottom line by not having to have a large call center, or shortening your call center, you're shrinking it, if you will. Also, people like good products. And in today's social, right, you tell one person, you share that on your LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. Next thing you know, thousands of people have seen that. And so you turn your customers into promoters of your brand so that it actually starts selling for you, because they love the experience that you as a brand, as a company, took the time to invest in to provide them with that experience. And that's what BILT does. We help our customers, our brands that we support, provide their customers with a premium, great experience that actually turns their customers into promoters of their brand. And that's important. That is worth investing in and moving from paper and static videos that are costly and expensive to update and create, and switching to BILT instructions.
I love that. And I think it's really smart how you look at the marketing formula as the B to B to C. And I could see how you look at each side of that differently and how that's, played out for you. Talking about adoption rate, it made me think of this story that I remember reading years ago in an economics class about hospital innovation, and how it takes about 18 months for one innovation that's proven. And it's like, FDA approved, this is the thing that certain hospitals are using. It takes it about a year and a half to reach 50% of hospitals in the US. So this is an industry where it's like you're literally working to save lives, and they have a slow adoption rate. So I'm really curious, what has the adoption rate been like for BILT moving in, and like what's the market inertia in that area for you?
It's like anything new. It just takes time. And early on, we had, if you will, 6 test customers, right? And they were trying it, and we were just validating and testing and making sure, working the kinks and the bugs out of the BILT app. But we have over 150 brands that are on the BILT app today, and we're adding more constantly. And then the existing brands are going deeper with their product lines. So it's just growing and growing. And, you know, you mentioned AUSA, Otis, earlier. It was fascinating for me to be at AUSA, which is just a great show in and of itself. But
Give everybody just a kind of a little bit of a understanding of the massiveness of AUSA. If you
well,
don't mind.
AUSA, for those of you who've not been to it, is the Association of the United States Army. It's their annual show, and they have meetings and awards and all kinds of things. But it's also the showcase where the manufacturers and services companies can show off what they're working on and what they hope the Army will purchase to be able to enable the warfighters of today to do their missions, whether it's peacekeeping, building partner capacity, large scale operations, humanitarian operations, things that can help them do their job. And so it's incredible. It's software, it's hardware. It's you walk through there and you see next generation aircraft, helicopter.
Really there. That I think that's the thing that I always get excited about. Is
there.
Yeah. Tanks are there. The flipping brand new Hummers are there. The latest guns and bullets, and oh yeah, it's just like a candy store.
It's really neat. So our booth, we're a small company, small business, and we were kind of on the upper hall back where the smaller innovative companies are that are trying to get some traction. And,
so you can graduate to the next floor, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so people would come by and they'd say, "Oh, I know your app. I used it to put my Weber grill together, or to put my KidCraft dollhouse together for my daughter, or I put together a backyard discovery playset, last weekend." I mean, So to Cam, to your question of, how's it going? I mean, we are seeing now, after millions and millions of users have downloaded and used BILT, people know what it is now. Not everybody, it's not like Facebook and LinkedIn, right? Those types of things, but people know what BILT is. And so that was exciting for us to have people come up, and sometimes they would 2 by 2 come up, and one individual would tell whoever they were with, saying, "Hey, I just used this a couple of weeks ago. I bought something at Home Depot, or I bought something at Lowe's or some other company. And let me tell you what it's like." And the application it could be for us at our work and our organization would be this, this, and this. So I would say that was really fun for us to see at AUSA. The pandemic, I think, while we were growing at a pretty good pace prior to the pandemic, because of the lockdown and everyone ordering things online and things being flat packed and then needed to be assembled, more people used BILT last year. Mm-hmm. So we were glad that we were in place and already had some decent traction, so that we could help our brands through the pandemic as well, make sure products being delivered, and that their customers, once they quote left the cash register, either physically or online, we could help them stay connected after the cash register to their customer by having them download the BILT instructions and register and be able to have that feedback loop with them, the brand and the customer.
Yeah, I'll steal Camden's economics from the business side. Just as a reminder there, folks, if you got a customer, it's a heck of a lot cheaper to keep that customer than get a new one. Mm-hmm. And BILT is a great way to keep them in your system, whether you're Weber grills or whatever it is. Man, I mean, that's to have that higher level of customer satisfaction at that, and just those little things that you do to get that customer to come back, because it's like, man, do I really, because Camden experienced this just a couple of weeks ago. Do I really want to put this thing together and struggle with that? Or would it be really nice to have a video to kind of step by step show me how things go and where the parts are and what they look like? And which leads me to a question I got. What about troubleshooting? Have you gotten into troubleshooting? Because at the back of every little instruction manual of whatever thing it is, there's always that one table of troubleshooting. Have you delved into that yet?
We have, yeah. It just depends on the customer's needs.
Hmm.
You know, we can do step-by-step instructions. We can also we have what we call baseball cards. You can kind of slide through an instruction set when you download it. And we can add additional things in there that are for install and maintenance and troubleshooting as well. So it just depends on the requirements, as we say in the military, for the actual customer and what they would like us to provide. So that's one of the fun things we do is when we work with our brands to sit down and design those initial requirements with them based on their needs. We love helping our customers solve their problems and coming up with ways that can, make promoters of the people that they're selling to make them happy so that they'll love that brand and want to tell all their friends about their brand. That's what BILT does. We're a customer experience software as a service platform, and we deliver our instructions via a mobile app, and it's the BILT app.
That really makes me think, have you come across, and you don't have to say any names because it might get you in trouble. Have you come across any companies where you got the instructions and you thought, oh gosh, we need to rewrite these? Like, this is 30 steps. It needs to be 5. Like, what the heck were they thinking with this? And does your platform allow for a little bit of that, innovation on your side of things where it's like, gosh, I'll throw, since it's my grill and I love it, I'll throw them under the bus of just using the name of, Oklahoma Joe's. It's like, gosh, that is the worst grill to put together. Like, the instructions are so redundant. They don't make any sense, all this kind of stuff. Is there a room for innovation for BILT inside that?
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the funnest things our instruction designers get to do. They'll get the core information once we sign a contract from a customer, and they'll tear this apart. Our team is probably the best in the world at what we do. I mean, no one's really doing what we're doing today to do it. And they'll tear through it, and they're so good. They've seen so many products. Some of our instruction designers have seen thousands of products, not hundreds, but thousands. And they're like, oh yeah. And they'll recommend, tweak this, change this, add this. We even have some brands that have just said, go ahead and, they'll give us some rudimentary instructions, but basically we create their instructions for them. And we have the ability to actually output as a byproduct 2D paper instructions after creating interactive instructions. So some brands still want paper, and we understand that. There's some requirements from regulatory bodies that require there also be paper. So we can work both ways with brands. We find, though, that most brands have some type of paper instruction already in place, but we definitely improve on the instructions because we actually take the time to do the assembly. One of the things we require from brands, and it mostly happens, sometimes things are just too big and they don't, but we require the brands to send us one of the products. And so that we're going through the instructions, we're creating the 3D interactive instructions, but we also do the assembly. We test it. And it's actually shocking to me how many brands don't test their own instructions. And I think that's part of the challenge is with the way our supply chains are set up, a disconnect happens between the actual brands and the manufacturers that are contracting the products, hence creating that frustrating experience that we've all been a part of when you go to a retailer, either online or brick and mortar in a store, and you purchase something and you open it up and you're like, ugh, these instructions don't match. They're off, Now, we also are able to sometimes, we find manufacturing errors as well. So at BILT, we just want to provide excellent brand support back to the companies that we partner with, and we're going to give them the best advice that we can. At the end of the day, it's their choice what they want to do, and we move forward based on whatever it is they want to do, whatever they define the mission to be. After providing input, we'll move forward and execute on what it is we've agreed on, per the contract, per the op order, right? Just for us, contract and the statement of work.
Yeah, and I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I'm really curious about this from the leadership side. Now, we talked a lot about what BILT does, which is, like I said, my engineering background is like all excited and giddy about this. But it takes people to do this. And it takes sounds like, I mean, quite a wide span of different skill sets and different types of people, the way they look at things and do things on a product, because you're got such 150 brands, I think you said. That's quite a wide array. So I'm curious how you have created the team, your leadership style that is enabling your team to be so successful.
Well, I have a partner. I helped co-found the company, and my partner, we go way back. We grew up together. We were oil brats overseas in the Middle East, and so we've known each other a long time. So there was a high level of trust already between me and him. And so he called me one day and he said, "Hey, I developed this app, minimum viable product." He was at a different company at the time, and he said they decided it wasn't part of their marketing mix, and so they're going to let me spin it out. And so he called me and he goes, "I got a few core people that will come with me from the current organization, but we're gonna we need to set up a company." And I had done a few startups before. Post 9/11, I had kept getting deployed, and I'd come back after the first time. I was there had been some changes in the organization I'd been at, and there was not employment for me. So a buddy of mine called me up and said, "Hey, remember that problem set we worked on? Let's move forward and do something." So I had some experience creating companies and getting addicted to exits. It wasn't a Facebook exit or anything like that, but it was like, wow, this is fun. This is exciting. Creating a company, creating a business plan, and working with veteran friends of mine. And so I had that experience. My friend called me, and he's a true software expert. 17 years. We knew each other as kids. We went to undergrad together, then graduate school, and then went on our separate ways, had families, and he had this fantastic career working in software. And when he laid it out to me, what BILT was, kind of like how you get excited when you heard about it, I got excited, and I said, "Wow, this is incredible. So many applications. I'm in."
Did you ask the telltale question of, really, nobody's done this yet?
Well, it's interesting you say that. People say that about just about everything. I can't believe no one's right. And so people should never, if they have an idea, think it through, run it to ground, do some research. You'd be surprised that, sometimes something you think has been done hasn't been done, or it's not being done in a good way. And you might have a better way to go after the market that's currently addressing that particular problem. And so, we looked at this problem set. We had minimum viable product, and so we did an asset purchase agreement. We moved it into a startup. So an interesting thing is BILT is a spin out startup, right? Most companies, people have an idea, they create a business plan, they go out and raise some money from some friends and family or seed round financing companies, and then they use that money to create the minimum viable product and then test it some more and then try and get traction. But we were in an interesting position because the BILT story is we're a startup spin out. And to get back to what you were talking about earlier, team, we had some incredible talent come from that company into our startup company. And none of those people had been in startups before. So took some time as we spun out to move them over, and incredible team, incredible courage, excuse me, as my light goes off. Incredible courage on their part to leave their very comfortable jobs that were a steady thing to come over to a startup. And that's one of the things. It takes courage to do a startup. These things just don't happen overnight, and there's a lot of stick-to-itiveness and trial and error and pain, and there's always 100 things that can kill a startup. And if you go back and read the histories of so many of the great companies that we know that are out there today, you see that. Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither was the great companies we know today, and startups today aren't built overnight. Having said that, we live in a remarkable time with incredible technologies and tools that allow us to innovate and go faster. Agile tools and techniques, procedures, and the ability to share information. It's an exciting time to actually be an entrepreneur. And veterans in particular, I've always thought this, have unique qualities and characteristics that make them, I believe, great candidates to be entrepreneurs. And whether that means they start their own thing from scratch, or they step into something that's already been started but is still fairly early. Military personnel have great leadership skills. They've done extremely hard things. That's one of the things today as a parent, I'm always trying to find, my kids need hard things to do, right? Because that's what gives them experience, and life is hard. And so military personnel have done hard things, extremely hard things in some cases. And so when you drop them into a startup, or early stage company scenario, and the hard things come left and right, they're like, hey, this isn't any harder than what I did in Fallujah or Ramadi or Paktika province, right? Or Somalia, or wherever it was they deployed. They'll say, we can get through this. We can push through this. They can provide leadership to those other people that are on the team. Military people show up. Half a life is showing up, right? And once you get there, excuse me, they how they execute and perform is my experience, they do pretty well. We're not perfect veterans, right? We don't get everything right all the time, but we're not afraid to move out, try something, fail. And we always say in innovation, fail early, fail fast, so you can learn. And that's one of the other things I think we, in the military, we have this culture of, after action reviews, right? What did we learn? Let's study our failures, especially at the tactical level, unit level, right? How can we do that better? And, you do that every day as an entrepreneur in the startup world. What did we learn? Boy, that was painful. How do we fix that? Right. So anyway, it's lots of parallels here, and I love seeing entrepreneurs jump in and be a part of the American dream to build companies that provide jobs, frankly, which is important to the stability of the nation as a whole.
Mm-hmm. One thing you mentioned there that I really want to go back to is you're talking about, the team members transitioning and how it was a little bit different because they were, coming from another company and then moving into the startup world. What was it like trying to, lead them during that transition? Because I've, worked on a handful of different startups and had some people who haven't been around that before, and they quickly chose to leave because of some, just what are basic startup things. I remember one good friend of mine came onto a business with me, and we went through a few months of it, and he kept on asking me these questions. And I'd go, well, we're going to find out. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, that's 6 months down the road. That's like, I've got plenty of plans for what I would do during, all those different things, but I can't tell you what's going to happen. That's not how this works. So that's my little anecdote on that. What was it like being a leader in that situation, and how did you help them to make that transition and, not leave because of uncertainty and those type of things?
Again, we had some incredible talent come over and they were very mature. So that helped tremendously. But I think, myself and my partner, as we were talking to the team early on, and we just said, look, nothing's certain. Here's what we're doing, and let's go. Let's try. And every time we had a setback, or a challenge, we tried to, at the appropriate time, explain that to them and message to them. What was going on. Communication is very, very important, obviously, when you're leading any type of team. And if you don't communicate to them, and it can be a challenge. People don't like to be in the dark. And of course, there's always a balance too. How much do you share and what's appropriate? What do they need to know and what do they not need to know? So I'm not saying we got it right all the time, but it's part of leadership is deciding how much of that you need to share, because people have their lanes and their jobs and their core tasks they need to focus on. And so, again, I can't say enough about our core team. They've just been phenomenal through the challenges. We've at BILT, we say we've faced at least 2 black swans events. The Q3 tariffs in 2019 directly affected our brand partners that were dealing with manufacturers in China. And, that caused some skittishness on some of our brand partners to move. And so that had a ripple effect into the business. And
they take the attitude of the newest thing must go first, as opposed to really weighing, what was more important to the customers.
Yeah. Could you repeat that again one more time? Sorry, I apologize.
What I found with businesses when there's a feeling of panic, when they're like, oh my God, the sky is falling. A lot of times, instead of doing the analysis, what do we need to cut? They go, what was the last thing we spent money on? Okay, cut that. Was that what you found from them?
Well, thankfully we were in charge, right? So at least on our end, our company, we kind of just assessed it. And so for the Q3 tariffs, it was interesting. I think everybody just is careful, right? When your margins are thin, right, and you're dealing with large companies that are publicly traded, or they're reporting to a private equity group or someone, everyone's careful. And so we have to have an outward mindset at BILT towards our customers to respect that, right? It's like, they just need to buy our stuff and that's it. No, these are real people dealing with real challenges, and if we better understand what they're going through, we can help them through those challenges. When in March of 2020, when the whole planet shut down, we basically turned our global economy off and the supply chain shut down. Excuse me. That was, I think everyone knows that was scary. And, we stared at the internet, the TV screens like everybody else, trying to do that assessment of what's really happening. And that was a challenge. That was a crisis. And I don't, we were never, I think, in a position where we thought the business would go under, but certainly, like everybody, we paused along with everybody else to stare at this situation and assess it. And I'd say about 8 to 10 weeks in, we realized, okay, there's going to be a pathway, at least short term, on how this is going to take place. And of course, that's when, some of our big customers, Home Depot and some of the other retailers, and what people start doing, people started buying stuff, right? And started doing things at home. And so we were grateful to be in a position to where we could support our brand partners in that way for the great pandemic buying surge of 2020 on certain products, obviously, that needed assembly, setup, installation. So
we talked earlier about all sorts of different ways that BILT is innovating inside of this area. I'm just very curious, are you doing anything because of my experiences last week that my dad alluded to earlier, are you doing anything to try to get rid of those crappy little tools that they ship you with every little thing that only fits that specific screw and then strips the screw because it's a crappy screw and all that kind of stuff? So, me as a customer, what is BILT doing for that?
I think this goes back to the process where I mentioned a little bit about it earlier. When we work with our brand partners, we look at their instructions. We create the 3D interactive instruction for them, and because we go through the assembly process for the majority of the things, we'll experience that using that tool ourselves. And the best thing we can do is we just provide them with feedback.
Mhm.
Many times the brands, I think they appreciate it. Sometimes they'll make some tweaks and changes, and other times they won't. So, we built, we don't fix everything. Much of it as we can, and provide good information. And sometimes it just takes a while for the brands to make those changes. Because, supply chains are interesting, and manufacturing processes, maybe they can't fix that till the next year's run when they upgrade the product, those types of things. So
What's one? Oh, go ahead. Finish your
no,
thought.
information is important for them. I mean, that's
Mhm.
one of the great things that BILT provides to all these brands is user-generated, authentic feedback. In that is what is good and bad. And again, we tell our customers, don't worry about the comments that they feel sometimes they're getting beat up. I said, this is great feedback, and you can address it, and you can contact them directly and say, hey, we'd like to solve this problem for you.
So I want to jump back to your time in the Army or the Navy. I'll open it up to either one. What's one thing that you carry with you from your time serving in the National Guard or Navy that applies to your business life almost daily?
Probably so many things. I've alluded to a few of them. I think we know how to push through hard things. We deal with it all the time in life and business. There's just hard things all the time. General Colin Powell just, of course, passed away. What a great man and a great leader. And one of my friends posted, I think he's got two different sets of leadership principles out there. One is 13, and then there's another one that's 21. And one of them I had not read before. He said that something about, he said, the easy path is always mined. So if you see a really easy road, well, it's easy for a reason. They're trying to trick you, right? The enemy. And I just think there's no easy path. Almost never. It's almost always hard. And sometimes people will look at companies and go, "Oh, you're doing amazing. You're incredible stuff." But when you dig in, you realize the amount of hard work and effort that goes into, getting to where you're at. That's day in and day out, hard work, consistency, tweaking and changing, and dealing with challenges. And I think in the military, most people that have served will probably say they experience those types of things, especially in stressful situations. In deployments, there's always things. I think it was General Eisenhower said, plans are nothing, but planning is everything, right? It's the, you can plan and say, hey, like a business plan, a new entrepreneur, is sitting there thinking, oh, I want to do this. They come up with their 15, 20-page business plan. And it's great. It looks like a great idea on paper.
Beautiful. It looks beautiful. The graphics, the colors, right?
We'll execute it this way and we'll hit this revenue, in early business plans, the venture capitalists, the investors always want to see the 5-year forecast. And look, everyone takes a swag at it and tries to hit it as best as possible. But there's so many things that can kill that plan along the way. And as long as you just got to keep pushing forward. You have a mission to do. And, you can't quit. There's stick-to-itiveness. You got to change. You got to be humble. You got to work with people. You got to get good people on board. You can be successful, but it's there's no easy road. It's just hard work, and generally, I think veterans are pretty good about digging in and hard and being trustworthy.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate that. And I'd be willing to bet that was probably General Powell's first leadership list, just based on the minds in the path, just based on that aspect. Well,
Probably
great,
was.
man. Well, man, what'd we learn, man? And you know what, Camden, did you learn anything?
I sure did. No, the
Well, you don't
main
get to
thing.
go first then.
Oh my gosh. Do you actually just fake me out with that, or you mess with me?
Go ahead. Go ahead. You get
All
to
right. So my main takeaway was the importance of feedback. And one, building that feedback loop. I think that's something in, you know, a lot of different economists and things talk about, is like being an issue inside a market is a lack of a feedback loop. And then the question of how you actually build the feedback loop is always much, much harder to answer. And so I'd love to see that y'all are doing that with BILT. And then the other aspect of it is, you know, I think you said it, Ahmed, that it's the company feels like they're getting beat up. What that made me think of is with coaching rugby, and yeah, I almost made it a whole episode without a rugby reference, is the kid who gets the most instruction and gets the most critiques is not the worst kid on the team. The worst kid on the team is not getting the instructions anymore because the coach has realized that they're not coachable and they're not going to go anywhere. The kid who's getting all of that instructions is the one who has the potential to go and be great. So when you're a company and you're taking that bad feedback, don't feel like you're getting beat up. It's them saying, look, I believe in you, dude. This is an awesome chair. It was just a bitch to build. Like, you know, like there's lots of things like that. So you got to find the silver lining there. And I think that's a huge takeaway for me as far as the feedback goes.
For me, it's something really simple that I didn't even know why I didn't know it didn't exist, but reverse logistics. I mean, it's like, as I think about an Amazon order, a shirt I had that shrunk, and yes, it did shrink because it was washed. It fit before and it didn't fit after. So no snide comments there. It actually did fit. Now it's like my 12-year-old self could wear it. But it is that whole thing, because it happens all the time. And
Every day.
Millions of dollars a day, I'm sure, or going back through the mail to the company that built it / sold it. So Ahmed, what'd you learn, man?
Well, it's always great to talk to you know, another veteran and you know, others that are interested in building companies, and so it's great to know that that aspect of our economy and marketplace, that there's still people who want to do that, because that's one of the great things, you know, in the United States of America, is that we have this, our Constitution and our capitalistic system that allows us to do this and innovate and make mistakes and grow and try, and what we make here in the United States, you know, goes out to the rest of the world, and also people want to copy and imitate some of the things that we're doing here around the world as well, and you can see that happening. So entrepreneurship is alive and well, and veterans make great leaders and coworkers and co-founders in this great game of entrepreneurship.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, learn more about BILT, those sort of things?
You know, I'm on LinkedIn, so you know, you can just go to BILT app on LinkedIn, and or BILT Incorporated. We have a page there, and you know, you can look under the people that are associated there. You can send me a message there. I try to respond. I can't always get to everything, but I try to respond. Also Facebook, and also directly to our webpage, www.biltapp.com. There's a little place there. You can also leave messages there as well. So, and really, I would tell you, if you want to experience BILT, just go to the Google Store or Google Play Store, or go to the App Store. Just download the app. It's free, and you can play with the things that are in there. It's really cool. And then when you're at the stores, you know, look for our little logo on the boxes, and you'll see the brands that have partnered with us, and you'll have the opportunity to experience what it's like to use BILT 3D interactive intelligent instructions when you assemble a product. I think you'll enjoy it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's, by the way, for those of you who are spelling challenged like I am, and you listen to podcasts and they give you a website or they say a word and then you can't figure it out, it's BILT. BILT. That's Bravo India Lima Tango for those of you who speak phonetic. Camden,
Right.
run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's show. Special thanks to our guest, Ahmed Qureshi, for joining us today. And thank you to our sponsor, Tribe and Purpose. Find your tribe, find your purpose. You can check out recent episodes of the Cam and Otis Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and check out a full archive at thecamandotisshow.buzzsprout.com. The Cam and Otis Show is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next week.